Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I got a press release from the Institute for Justice, and I know a lot of you are on their mailing list. That's good. You may have seen this as well, but this is an extremely important case. Family asks Supreme Court to hear qualified immunity case against SWAT commander who ordered officers to raid the wrong home. Police stormed the wrong house and held innocent family at gunpoint while executing a warrant for an alleged drug house that was at a different address. You'd think checking the address would be job number one. Now, I did a video about this story a while back as it was working its way through the court system. And right now, these people have been out of luck, and they're asking the Supreme Court to reverse that. The innocent family from Lancaster, Texas, whose home was raided by a SWAT team in March of 2019, has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to hear their case against the SWAT team's leader. The woman who lives in the home and her partner have teamed up with the Institute for Justice to file a petition with the Supreme Court asking the justices to overturn a lower court ruling granting qualified immunity to the SWAT commander who ordered the raid of the wrong home. Qualified immunity is run amok, says IJ Attorney Dylan Moore. The Supreme Court must ensure that victims of obvious constitutional violations are not denied a day in court. Back in March 2019, a SWAT team from the Waxahachie Police Department and officers from the Drug Enforcement Administration attempted to execute a search warrant on a suspected stash house at 573 8th Street. Now, when the team arrived on the scene, they almost raided 583 8th Street. Now, they spotted that mistake, but the team lieutenant then ordered them to go to the house on the left, just assuming that was the correct house. But the house on the left was also the wrong house. So instead of raiding 573, they raided 593. Apparently the guy got the numbers going the wrong direction. And so they wound up raiding the innocent people's home. So the home address did not match the one on the warrant, but the leader of the team never checked. Even worse, the houses had obvious physical differences. The target house was surrounded by a fence, had a large garage behind it, and the police had planned to search the garage, and the address was posted on the front porch. The woman's house that they did search had no porch, no fence, no garage. What it did have was an impossible to miss wheelchair ramp that officers had to go up on their way into the wrong house. This was not a difficult split-second decision. Lewis, that's the leader of the team, had plenty of time and he had plenty of information to ensure he was raiding the correct house. And that's an IJ senior attorney speaking there. Qualified immunity should not shield him for his plain incompetence. When police arrived, the woman had just gotten out of the shower, and her 3 minor children and her partner were asleep in the home. The leader of the SWAT team ordered the team to conduct a break and rake, that's what they call it. Without knocking or announcing themselves, they shattered every front window, covering the children with glass. They set off a flashbang, and they smashed down the front door just for good measure. Upon entering, they ordered the woman to the ground where she was held for several minutes. The SWAT team then left and conducted its raid at the correct home 2 doors down. This raid was a traumatizing experience for me and my kids. Still have flashbacks to the raid, says Karen, who was taken along with her daughter to the hospital following the raid. We hadn't done anything wrong, and suddenly we're being held at gunpoint and having parts of our home destroyed. I couldn't believe what was happening. Waxahachie police conducted an internal investigation and found that reasonable and normal protocol was completely overlooked. Reasonable and normal protocol was completely overlooked. And the police chief stated the mistake never should have happened. So what the police did was they suspended the guy who ran the raid for 2 days. He was suspended for 2 days. Meanwhile, the owner of the house and her partner have sued the leader of the SWAT team, and he's claimed he's entitled to qualified immunity, which, of course, is the judge-made legal doctrine that shields government officials from accountability when they violate people's constitutional rights. A panel of the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals agreed 2-1. So, again, it was a close call that the SWAT leader was immune, stating he made significant efforts to identify the correct address before he ordered officers to storm the wrong one. But The dissenting judge disagreed, pointing out it is beyond debate that his efforts to identify the target house were constitutionally deficient. Now, Karen and her partner are asking the Supreme Court to rule that the officers who ignore the Constitution are not above the law. And here's the thing. We've talked about qualified immunity before. There's not a law on the books that says they get qualified immunity. It was something invented by the courts years and years and years and years ago. It's a judge and a court invented legal doctrine. And so what often happens when people find out that, oh, you can do this and get away with it, they start getting sloppier and sloppier and sloppier because they can get away with it. And I've talked before about how they often say that a pendulum is a good way to look at something. A pendulum swings, and it'll often go really, really far one way before it comes back. And the question is, how far will it go? And so here you've got a SWAT team busting windows, kicking down doors, throwing flashbangs into the wrong house. And it's not like this was confusing. It's not like none of the houses were marked. It's not like these houses were moving around like in a Harry Potter film or something. There's a house on a street with an address. You can go to Google Maps and look at photographs of it without going to actually look at the house itself. Nowadays, there's absolutely no excuse for something like this to happen. And yet, it happened. And as they pointed out, because they've apparently now done some research on this, the guys and gals almost broke into a different wrong house before they broke into this wrong house. And they had a description of the house along with the address. And so if you're standing on a porch and the address is right there, you shouldn't have to ring the doorbell and ask the owner, excuse me, what's your address? The address is right there. The address was right there. So this is what kills me when you think about this. When you get to the U.S. Supreme Court, there's justices up there, 9 of them. And to win the case up there, you got to get 5 to go your way. The weird part is that your first shot at the Court of Appeals, your appeal gets heard by a 3-judge panel. 3-judge panel rules, 2 of them go one way, 1 goes the other way. That's a close call. All it took was one of these judges to go, oh no, I go the other side. Boom, and suddenly it goes the other way. And I've always liked the idea about appellate panels being slightly larger. And I realize that there is a way, if you want to, you can file an appeal to the full bench and get more judges hearing the case. But it also becomes very, very cumbersome. But also, what the Institute for Justice is trying to do is they're trying to chip away at qualified immunity. And so what they're doing is they're picking cases that they think are really, really good candidates to be a case where a higher court's going to be forced to say, well, this one, we have to say qualified immunity doesn't work. And so if they can chip away at it a little bit at a time, they'll make progress. The odds of them being able to go to the Supreme Court and saying, we want you to wipe out qualified immunity completely, it's probably not going to happen. So their best bet is to chip away at it. And the best bet there is to get really, really, really good cases with sympathetic plaintiffs who've had something horrific happen to them, where everyone looks at it and goes, okay, that was wrong. I guarantee you right now, and here's the thing, I can do a video about some topic where I think people are going to agree with me. And I'll get some people going, Steve, I disagree with you, and here's why. And I'm always surprised. But at this point in my life, not as much as I used to be. But you have to ask yourself, when the SWAT team shows up first at the wrong house and then goes, okay, we're at the wrong house, and they break into another house and go, okay, this must be the place, to cite talking heads. This must be the place. And it's the wrong house also. And it doesn't even match the description of the house. They're breaking into a house with no garage with the intent of searching the garage. Shouldn't somebody have spotted that? Hey, I got a crazy idea. This is for the This is for the Waxahachie Police Department. Waxahachie's like Kalamazoo. It's one of those fun town names to say. Waxahachie. I got an idea for you guys, and I'm gonna give it to you for free. You have a SWAT team. No, it's not one guy or gal busting into a house going, hey, I'm the SWAT team, right? It's a team. You have a team, right? When you have a SWAT team, you should assign one person and go, hey, Bob, today it's you. You're the address guy. And have him memorize the address. Maybe he could write it on his arm in El Marco or Sharpie. Or maybe he could have it on a piece of paper and he could hold it in front of his face and go, okay, we're looking for 573. And until address Bob actually gives the thumbs up, don't go busting out all the windows and kicking down the door and throwing the flashbangs just yet. Wait till the address guy confirms the address. See, you don't have to have everyone on the team confirm it. You just need to have one guy confirm it. Is that asking too much? And I'm hoping by now you realize how absurd this is. They're saying, well, it wasn't that big of a mistake. We were only off by a couple houses. All we did was kick down the front door, break every single window in the front of the house, and throw in a flashbang. And a couple people in the house had to go to the hospital. That's all we did. Oh my God. This is horrible. Horrible. So family asks Supreme Court to hear qualified immunity case against SWAT commander who ordered officers to raid the wrong home. So that's from the Institute for Justice. And as I always do, I'm going to tell you again, they are a nonprofit organization that exists entirely off the generosity of their supporters. If you can support them, please do. If you can't support them, give them moral support. Go visit their website. and put a link in the description below the video. Go visit their website and bookmark it and sign up for the newsletter. That way you'll get these press releases also and you follow the great work they do. So this case we've been following for a while. I remember when it happened a couple years ago now. Sadly, that's how long it takes for things to get to the U.S. Supreme Court. But they've now asked, and they'll find out shortly whether the Supreme Court's going to hear their case or not. But they've brought a bunch of cases to the Supreme Court, and they've won a bunch of them also. So they do great work. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. If you can't be kind, at least have the decency to be vague.